Take a turn into Sebastian Street and you come to Northampton Square. The square has a nice green space in its middle where you can sit on a bench and watch the squirrels run between your legs. The place itself is unremarkable. The square is named after an insignificant marquis, because he was a leading mason, Marquis of Northampton, site of Hawksmoor's Eastern Neston Hall, characteristically aligned with local churches. I left through the southwestern corner to Wycliffe Street, then into St. John's Street and down to Old Street again. The weather was nice and warm, so I didn't mind the long walk. Walk along Clerkenwell Road and Theobald's Road to get to St. George's, Bloomsbury. On the way I noticed a building whose patron would fit into this journey as well. Emanuel Swedenborg was a prophet and visionary who had influenced William Blake very much. Originally he was buried in Swedenborg Gardens just off the highway opposite Hawksmoor's Church, St. George in the east. His body was later shipped to his home country, Sweden. I reached Hawksmoor's St. George's, Bloomsbury, and remembered the comparison to the pagan mausoleum at Halicarnassus, on which Hawksmoor based the steeple of this church. At this point in the comic, Sir William Gull connects Hawksmoor's works with Dionysiac architects, supposedly the master craftsmen of Atlantis who survived that continent's decline. He adds that there are Mycenaean symbols etched upon Stonehenge. Could the Dionysiacs have helped design that ancient solar shrine where druids once made sacrifice? Always the sun, whether his name be Lat, Apollo, Helios or Atom, be he Belinus or Baal or Baal. It is true that the symbol etched upon one of the sarsen blocks at Stonehenge is a dagger, matching with identical carvings dating from Mycenaean Greece circa 1600 BC. The Dionysiacs have been, according to Gull, Hawksmoor's main influence. My next stop was Earl's Court. I took a bus right in front of St. George's, Bloomsbury. This ride would take some time. There were some demonstrations going on, so we had to leave the bus at Trafalgar Square. I realized that I would lose too much time when I would take the next bus to Earl's Court. It was around 2 p.m. So what was I to do? I decided to break the rule and took the tube to Earl's Court. Gull explains that it was once called Billingswell after Belinus Well, sacred unto the solar god King Belinus, son of King Lud. Moore says that Billings is a corruption of Belinus, as with London's fish market Billingsgate, which was originally erected upon the site of one of the city's gates. The gate was known as Belinus Gate after the sun god Belinus, just as Ludgate near to St. Paul's Cathedral is named after Belinus' father, the Sun King Lud. Since Gull and Netley stopped at an inn for lunch, I decided to do the same. It was 2:20 p.m. and I had been on my way since 9 o'clock. I realized that I had lost some time right at the beginning at Oxford Circus, and that I would be even later if I had taken a bus to Earl's Court. A great pub is just on the other side of the main road, so I went into the Blackbird to have steak and kidney pie and pale ale. I agreed with Gull that these ancient stones awake in me a fearful appetite. At this stop I was basically halfway through the route. Gull also sums up their stations so far at this point. As Gull marks his map, he sums up: there's Battlebridge, where matriarchy fell with Boadicea; London Fields, where Saxons praised the moon's assassin; Bunhill Fields, with Blake asleep beneath an obelisk; Old Street, where Hawksmoor raised its twin; Northampton Square, bought with Masonic gold; and Bloomsbury St. George, where Hawksmoor raised his pagan mausoleum. Finally Earl's Court, where Belinus once had his well. Maps have potency, may yield a wealth of knowledge past imagining. Encoded in the city stones are symbols thunderous enough to rouse the sleeping gods submerged beneath the seabed of our dreams. After the delicious meal, I was tired and footsore. I thought about having another beer, about stopping here and continuing the next day, but I decided against it. This mission had to be completed. I broke the rules once more. I realized that it would take me forever to reach Cleopatra's Needle via bus, so I took the tube to Embankment and was witness to an elderly couple arguing. She was definitely the boss in their marriage. I reached Cleopatra's Needle with many other tourists in the dizzy afternoon light. I will only shortly sum up the story of Cleopatra's Needle here. It dates back to 1450 BC, making it the oldest man-made monument in London. The obelisk was originally erected in Heliopolis to worship the sun god Atum. It was erected in London in 1878. The transport from Alexandria was difficult and cost several seamen their lives. Still, its story and the fact that they buried a razor and pictures of the most beautiful women in Britain beneath it sends shivers down my spine when I think of the Ripper and his victims just 10 years later. Something I want to mention here is the effect a pyramid shape has on the sharpness of the cutting edge of a razor. As reported in the widely read Psychic Discoveries Behind the Iron Curtain, a Czech engineer found that by keeping a razor blade inside a correctly oriented pyramid made of cardboard, the cutting edge was retained for hundreds of shaves, owing, it was thought, to the realignment of the crystalline structure of the steel edge. Even the tourists seem to feel uneasy around the needle. The place is allegedly one of the most famous suicide spots on the river. Gull reflects on the war twixt sun and moon, wherein all history has been conscripted. 'Tis in the war of sun and moon that man steals woman's power, that left brain conquers right, that reason chains insanity. He elaborates his thoughts, saying that the stones and symbols language speaks direct to our unconscious mind. Think of it, Natalie. Dionysiac architects, what contradiction with the god of instinct and unreason thus evoked by architects, most sober Apollonian men. Yet they knew the unconscious was the inspiration whence their towers of reason sprang. Thus, harnessing its power symbolically was their sublime accomplishment. Their symbol was the dreaming moon enclosed by 7 stars that represent arithmetic, music, astronomy, rhetoric, grammar, logic, and geometry, the pillars of Masonic thought. That symbol also signifies female power within humanity, enfetterd by its ring of stars that are but distant suns and therefore masculine. Symbols have power, Natalie. As we learned before, the 7 stars are a symbol for the goddess Diana, who will become important now. Gull goes on to explain that symbols direct our thoughts and deeds, rouse buried shapes beneath our waking minds. All magic is symbolic. With symbols did male warlocks conquer women, first destroying or discrediting the goddesses that stood for women's power. The mother goddess Tiamat, demoted, was made devil first, then slowly chimera. Goddesses were replaced by gods. Next came child sacrifice, killing that first, most awesome female symbol, which is motherhood, their magic and their power. Now take Waterloo Bridge to reach the other side of the river. If you take a bit of a detour to Waterloo Station, go through Leek Street Graffiti Tunnel, which is an inspiring artistic experience. It smells of graffiti spray and marijuana. There are shops and cafes, and young artists paint and spray the walls while families lead their children through this external gallery. I walked right through it and made my way to Hercules Road, where William Blake once had lived. I went into an archway called Carlisle Lane that seemed lonely and dirty. 2 policemen came out, and I could see some homeless people in the tunnel. I walked in and noticed some things on the walls on both sides of the tunnel. They looked like pictures. When I examined them further, my jaw dropped. They were mosaics, and they all showed images by William Blake. So, that was it for today. Next week we're going to continue our journey from Lambeth to Herne Hill and back into the City of London. This journey is part of my book London and its Genius Loci, a journey beyond time and place, in which I try to find the spirit of place of this greatest city in the world. I hope you enjoyed this part of the From Hell tour. Subscribe to my channel, visit my website, buy my book or get in touch with me. My name is Philipp Röttgers. Thank you.